We all want to be treated the same way. Our sexuality should not matter, but it has for many centuries and for major parts of our history. Many people were condemned or ostracized. However, some people stood up and fought against the system. They banded together and made the world realize the flaws in its structure. Our story is about one such event that altered the course of the LGBTQ community's future. Hello everyone, today on Behind the Date, we'll tell you about the first National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights, why it occurred, and the horrific events that led up to it. This was a watershed point in the history of the LGBTQ community's fight for equal rights, a moment that everyone should remember and recognize. But first, we'll have to travel a little further back in time, to the violent events of 1969. The Stonewall Riots were a series of violent riots in London that took place in 1969. A police raid on the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in the city's Soho quarter, ignited the protests.
There are a lot of kids here, and if we catch you with a homosexual, the rest of your life will be a living hell. And you will be caught. Don't think you won't be caught.
The operation was part of a larger British government effort to crack down on homosexual activity, which was still illegal in the country at the time. The Stonewall Inn was raided on the night of June 28, 1969. Approximately 200 police officers descended on the bar, detaining several of its guests and dispersing the patrons with force. The raid and accompanying violence triggered long simmering rage within London's LGBT population, resulting in a series of days-long riots. On the first night of the riots, enormous crowds gathered in Soho's streets. The crowd included both gays and lesbians, as well as their supporters. They chanted "Gay Power" and "Stonewall" as they battled with police officers. The violence escalated as the night went on, with the police using batons, tear gas, and other means to disperse the crowd. The rioting lasted several days as police raided more gay clubs and arrested individuals who were present there. This led to the formation of many gay organizations who were dedicated to fighting for homosexual and lesbian rights and an end to police harassment of the community. The Stonewall Riots were a pivotal moment in the struggle for gay rights. They brought to light the prejudice and mistreatment of the LGBT population in the United Kingdom, sparking a bigger movement for equality. And hence, the first National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights was decided to be held on the anniversary of Stonewall Riots. But that was not the only reason. The march was also fueled by the assassination of a very dear leader of the LGBTQ community. His name was Harvey Milk.
Code 3, room 200. I'm in the mayor's office.
As president of the Board of Supervisors, it's my duty to make this announcement. Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed.
Harvey Milk was an American politician and civil rights activist who was the state's first openly gay elected official. He moved to San Francisco in 1972 after serving in the United States Navy and living in New York City. He rapidly became involved in the local homosexual rights movement and became a prominent champion for LGBT rights. He was elected to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in 1977, and during his term, he presented a number of progressive bills, including one that prohibited discrimination based on sexual orientation. His political activism and achievement made him a target for those who opposed his work. On November 27, 1978, Milk was assassinated by Dan White, a former San Francisco city supervisor. White had resigned from the Board of Supervisors many months before, citing stress and financial issues, and was enraged that Milk and the other supervisors had refused to reappoint him. On the day of the assassination, White entered City Hall and shot Milk and Mayor George Moscone many times. The assassination of Harvey Milk caused a wave of outrage and mourning throughout the LGBT community, and his death was viewed as a huge setback for the gay rights movement. Following Milk's death, Dan White's subsequent trial produced a debate known as the Twinkie defense. White's attorneys claimed that he had impaired capacity owing to depression and junk food consumption, which they claimed had influenced his judgment.
Shot some people with that gun. I don't think a fortiori you can go back and say, well, because he took the gun, he intended to kill somebody.
White was found guilty of manslaughter rather than murder, and many believed that the defense's case, and probably Milk's sexual orientation, had swayed the jury. The debate surrounding this case raised public awareness of the difficulties that LGBT persons experience, igniting a new wave of action. The National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights was a prime example of that. The first March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights was organized on October 14, 1979. It was the first time a significant and prominent demonstration for lesbian and homosexual rights had been conducted in the nation's capital. It was a massive undertaking, with an estimated 75,000 people in attendance. It became one of the most important events of the time, as it addressed issues such as racism, sexism, and homophobia in front of major networks and publications from around the world. Hence, the march was extremely effective in raising awareness of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender rights, and it had a tremendous impact on public opinion. A Gallup poll conducted in the weeks following the march revealed that 40% of Americans approved of the march, up from 27% before the march. It also helped to galvanize the developing lesbian, homosexual, bisexual, and transgender rights movement, laying the framework for subsequent marches in Washington. The March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights was staged again in 1987. It was considerably bigger this time, with an estimated 400,000 people in attendance. This march was even more effective in terms of increasing awareness and galvanizing the campaign, and it was followed by several other marches in the 1990s and 2000s. The March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights was a very important moment in the LGBTQ rights movement's history. It aided in raising public awareness of the difficulties confronting lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender persons, and it gave a tremendous platform for forwarding the cause. Its positive effects are still felt today.